What type of advice do you have for other business owners who may be considering training jiu-jitsu?
I'm going to start off by saying why they shouldn't do it. If you don't want to struggle, if you don't want to suffer, if you don't want to not be good at something for a very long time, then don't do it.
Welcome to the Combat Creative Podcast, where we explore the heart of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, uncovering its creative, entrepreneurial, and leadership qualities with guests who embody what it means to be a leader in our BJJ community. Now on 3, 1, 2... Hey everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Combat Creative Podcast. I'm your host, Jared Quackenbush. And are you a jiu-jitsu tattoo artist, or do you like tattoos? I know it's pretty common in this sport, but today we have on my friend Hector, who's a practitioner as well as a business owner. He owns a shop in Merritt Island, Florida called Constant Pressure Tattoo. Hector, thanks for coming on the show today.
Dude, thank you for having me, man. You filled that. Now I got to compete with that intro.
No,
I'm terrible.
It's getting better. It's getting better.
Yeah, it is. That's awesome.
My question for you, just start off, just share a little bit about yourself, how you got started in practicing jiu-jitsu, and then what you're doing today as far as work.
Yeah, so it's, I'd say pretty crazy. I was born in Puerto Rico. I grew up in Orlando, got into jiu-jitsu when I was around 15, and it's actually because my sister, she was a boxer. Since she was little, she was my younger sister. And then her gym that she was training at in Vieira closed down. So then my mom had to find her, other outlets and martial arts training centers. So this place called Brevard MMA showed up. And for people who are involved in jiu-jitsu in Brevard will remember that name and everyone that was involved in that gym. But she goes into this gym expecting to learn boxing, and they were having a kids jiu-jitsu class, and she had no idea what that was. I was watching, and I was like, I like that. And I was kind of tired of her kicking my ass, and I was a little scrawny kid that drew, so I was just easy pickings. She tried the class, hated it. I tried the class, loved it, and the rest is history. I've been doing it since I was 15. Now, I also preface it, just because I was doing it since I was 15, I'm not good. I'm pretty average. Because people hear that and they're like, oh yeah, the Rotolo brothers have been doing this forever too. I'm like, no, there's levels.
That's a different, there's levels.
No, but yeah.
Well, talk about, so you're an artist. I remember when I first met you, I was at a local coffee shop in Satellite Beach, and the owner overheard me maybe on a phone call or say something. Brian at Wicked Pineapple, shout out Brian. He said, do you do jiu-jitsu? And I'm like, yeah, I just started. And he's like, well, you got to follow this guy. You got to follow Roman Jiu-Jitsu, which I thought your name was Roman, was like your first name. So until you told me. And I remember going to your page and seeing that you were training, but you also did artwork, and that was kind of before maybe tattoos.
Yeah.
So just give us a little insight on what you do. So you're a tattoo artist, but you've done other art. In fact, I'm wearing one of his T-shirts. This was not planned, but I think the back says, what does it say? Anti-Pinterest.
Yeah, anti-Pinterest tattoo glove.
Yeah.
So that's the crazy thing.
But I remember seeing your artwork, and I actually really liked it. It was like this trippy, I remember you were doing like jiu-jitsu stuff, but this line work. So just talk about your art, your style.
So that's where it gets even crazier. I've been doing art since I was 3. I grew up in poverty. There wasn't much to do because we couldn't sign up for Little League at the time. Couldn't sign up for sports, which honestly, thankfully, I'm glad we ended up signing up for everything afterwards. But early on in my life, I was a giant little nerd. At 5 years old, my uncle would draw my Pokemon cards for me. I thought that was crazy, that he could recreate an image that he saw from his eyes with his hands. And so I just kept bugging him, like, keep drawing. And then he's like, dude, I'm tired of this. Here, have this. And he bought me 101 ways to draw animals. And I to this day, will never forget that moment. Picked up a pencil, kept drawing. I did that forever. I don't remember a time when I wasn't drawing. And that was actually my goal for a while. I wanted to be a professional artist. Then I started skateboarding, and I got introduced to the world of tattoos. There was actually a time when we grew up in a very impoverished area in Orlando, and back then you're either a gang member or a criminal, or you're just up to no good when it came to tattoos.
Sure.
A lot of my family members that had tattoos were not in positive clubs. They were in pretty alternative clubs, some would say, but that's just all I knew.
Right.
And we're at Sam's Club in Orlando, and it's known as Silver Star now. It's Pine Hills. It's where I grew up, and this guy covered in tattoos, like a full sleeve from far away. He had a beard. He looked like your typical biker guy. And my grandpa, who was with me, I told him, like, hey, there's a biker gang member. Like, that's crazy. And he's like, you're a moron. It's like, no. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, come on, we're going to go talk to him. I was terrified. This guy could have been Hercules to me.
Yeah.
And if I look back, he probably looked like some overweight, middle-aged, like, biker dude, you know? So we get up to him, and my grandpa goes, hey, this kid thinks you're some gangbanger. Like, do you want to explain what you do? he was an artist for Disney.
Wait, what?
Yeah, his sleeve was full. It was a full Disney sleeve. And to me at that time, it was the first time I saw tattoos as art. And I was like, there's no way. This is insane. Like, now people are going to wear it forever. And then I also learned that I can't judge a book by its cover.
Right.
So that was my introduction to tattoos. And since then, I was like, okay, cool. What is this? And then LA Ink, Miami Ink came in. Started watching those when I was a young kid.
Right.
And then right around the time I was 13, I got my first tattoo machine. My mom was dating a guy who was a tattoo artist. And he's like, hey, man, here, check this out. It's an old coil machine. Now, I wasn't tattooing. Super illegal to tattoo at a young age. But he told me I could put a pencil in that coil machine and draw, getting used to the weight. He taught me how to do stencils back then, the old way of tracing over and then finding shades and values. And since then, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to tattoo, and that's what I want to do. There's nothing that can change my mind. And then that's how I got introduced to tattooing. And then right around the age of 18, I was like, cool, I'm going to go to college. I had a scholarship to design a College of Art and Design. And life kind of had a different route for me. We hit a very, very shitty situation as a family. We almost lost our house. We were very, very poor at the time. I was working not to understand responsibilities, but just to help pay rent at 15. And so my mom sat me down and was like, look, dude, you're not going to college. We can't afford it. That's just how life is. And that my whole world like shattered. I thought, cool, there goes my dreams. I'm not going to be an artist. And I was training at the time. A lot of guys I was training with were involved in jiu-jitsu, and they were also involved in law enforcement. And they're like, hey, look, we heard your situation. You don't have much to give, but try this out. And so I became a cop at 19. And that's where my literal route just took a sharp right and changed my life forever. Got rid of it. Got rid of my dreams and hopes of tattooing. I thought it was stupid. I thought it was dumb. Right. Kind of lived a false life of what I thought was happy. I had the typical, career, retirement, safetyhood, and I was a cop in Florida. Might as well be Jesus to some people, what I mean? Or Satan, depending on where you look at it. But I was viewed as a very responsible guy, and I was like, wow, I made it. And then I just realized I wasn't happy at all. My wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, was with me getting tattooed, and she would always hear me going, like, I want a tattoo machine. I want to get back into it. I want to follow my dreams. But I was just scared because there's no secure money in tattooing.
Or just working for yourself in general.
Yeah. But that's the thing, is it wasn't taught to me that way, you know? But my wife kind of sat me down and she's like, hey, stop being a wimp and just follow your dreams. You have two options, and I'm here to support you either way. And that's what kind of set me up for success. Is I got an apprenticeship, lucky enough to get one. I balanced that and my full-time job, and then now I'm here. The rest is history.
It's so important to have good people in your life. So you have your now wife, which you just got married recently.
Yes, last November.
And I've been married. I got married way too young. I've been married almost going on 16 years. But I remember when I was tiptoeing along, like, what do? I had a good job working for my family's business, who they took care of me. They cared for me. They gave me a good work environment. They were taking care of, like, my bills were paid. And I was just really struggling with, like, what to do. Because I was so grateful to be working there and them giving me the opportunity. But I also realized, like, I don't think I want to do this forever. Yeah. And I remember my wife was just like, just do it. Do what you want to do. And if it doesn't work, don't burn any bridges. Yeah. And you can either go back or find, like, just do it. Yeah. And I'm really glad I did, because now I've been doing media work for going on maybe like 6 or 7 years. I'd have to do the math, but it hasn't always been easy, but it has been worth it so far. Oh, yeah. And for me, it's been really neat seeing, when I first met you, you were still a cop. Yeah. And then seeing you transition into this. So I want to talk about, real quick, could you share what inspired you to start Constant Pressure Tattoo? Constant Pressure, pretty a relevant name for a jiu-jitsu guy. But just share what inspired you to start this place here, and how's it going so far?
Yeah, so the name came Constant Pressure because I have a pretty offhanded belief that nothing comes out of not suffering. The best things happen when you suffer. The best things are molded under pressure. And my background in jiu-jitsu is just as much a part of my life as, eating breakfast every morning. It's the reason why I'm the way I am today, as well as my other job. But I learned that you can't have anything worth having without struggling under pressure a lot of times. And fortunately and unfortunately, I look at it as a good thing. But the guy I ended up apprenticing under, turned out to be not a great guy, which is pretty common in the tattoo industry. He was just awful, but he ended up giving me the opportunity to buy him out of his lease. And I said, wow, this is awesome. I should, there was more behind the scenes that I didn't understand or realize, because all I saw was what was in front of me.
Right.
And I was like, dude, fantastic. I would love to. That's awesome. He wanted to travel. He wanted to move out and tattoo elsewhere. I didn't know why, but I was like, cool, let me take this opportunity. Well, I ended up learning that, after signing the new lease agreement, almost applying for a $30,000 loan, he quickly wanted me to take over a shop that wasn't successful and pass it off on me without me knowing. Found out that he was, behind on rent by 9 months. I was going to take up a bunch of debt on top of the loan. So he sits us down, and it's actually me and Bree. And he's like,
which is one of your artists
she's
here.
My artist now, yeah, one of my artists and manager of the shop. But we sat down, and he's like, hey, you guys are going to take over the other shop instead of this one. I'm like, look, I appreciate it. I would much rather not continue to be an artist. If that's what you wanted, I would have appreciated more, communication. But It is what it is. And he's like, no, you guys are either there or you're out. I'm like, give us a couple months. I understand. I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me know now, but I'll get out of your hair. And he's like, cool, fine. So we were fired. Then we got a text later. He's like, hey, actually, instead of a month, or 3 months, I'm going to give you a month. And I'm like, fine. I just roll with the punches. When things happen, I'm like, cool. I'd rather not argue. Again, I'm not one for burning bridges. But little did I know he was in the middle of lighting the bridge himself. Yeah. And then he ends up posting the video of us getting fired onto social media for everyone to see. Blasted us saying we're terrible people, we're terrible artists, blah, 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 blah. Gaslighting us into oblivion. Then we started receiving messages from people who were involved in the industry going, hey, we saw what happened. Don't worry. This is everything you need to know. And we learned a lot that got unearthed about him and why people weren't coming to us in the first place. And so immediately, instead of, here I am, no shop, just got fired. I just quit my job, to go full time into tattooing.
Yeah, it was pretty recent. Like, it's not like you'd been doing this, I think, for years. How long were you working at that shop?
It was literally like a year in. I hit my year anniversary. It was the day after my birthday. That whole month was a testing period for me. But day after my birthday, get fired, I lose everything. A week prior to that, I lost my truck because it just blew up. I just bought it. A week after that, my wife loses her car. A week after that, her grandpa passes away. So that whole month was just a very big, it was easy for me to go, all right, I quit. Let me go back to comfort. And I was like, I can't do that. I'm going to I'm just going to dig into what I know and what I love and just go all in. And I saw the opportunity that was there. I had enough people that backed me to realize that I can make something happen. And thankfully, we're one of the most successful shops in Brevard County with incredible artists. We're constantly growing.
In a very short amount of time.
Yes. And from what's funny is we ended up in that area into a small little space. Not a lot of people knew it was behind a barber shop, but we never marketed it as that. We marketed it as its own shop. And thankfully, not many things bug you when you're used to someone having side control or knee on belly, or you're getting choked out, or just jiu-jitsu. That's why I say jiu-jitsu prepared me for the struggle that I was going to have, let alone my other job. My worst day went from, I had a situation where a guy unfortunately wanted to commit suicide by cop. And that was a bad day. That's when I came home and I told my wife, I thought I was going to lose my life that day. And then after that, I go into the gym and I have some giant going knee on belly. And I loved it. That's why I was molded by constant pressure at such a young age that I knew I wanted to end up creating an environment where that exists and molds people into success. So I went from that to, okay, now I get to start my own business. I could have easily said everything's done. I had no chance to tattoo this guy. I had every opportunity to give him control of my life and, my circumstances, when in reality, I'm in control. If someone's knee on belly, the best way to get out is to frame, push away, shrimp, and then you're in control of that situation, which unfortunately a lot of people don't really realize early on. And that's where it's gotten me to this successful point where my shop's doing great, we're traveling, we're growing, and we're consistently growing. We're in a bigger space now in less than 6 months, and we're looking at expanding even further, bringing on new artists, and I owe it all to jiu-jitsu. That's what molded me. My job was great, but jiu-jitsu build me up for success in that job as well, and build me up to success in this industry where there's not much professionalism and just positivity all around. It's very competitive. It's very, just unhealthy for others. They're not very confident in themselves, and they don't focus on growing together. They focus on growing individually, which, just like anything, you can only grow so much with no one else pushing you more, So.
pressure has a unique way, I think, of revealing certain character qualities in people. It's just some people, when they experience those difficult situations, it's really revealing like how they respond to it.
Absolutely.
I think it's neat how you were pretty intentional with how, hey, I train hard. I've been in some unique situations. I can handle this. I can get through this. And some people, it's the opposite. Some people try it for a while and they're like, yeah, I can't handle this. My friend who kind of got me into jiu-jitsu, he was a business owner and started kind of like mentored me a little bit in the process. He was my first customer. He really believed in me. And I remember him telling me, look, like, this is going to be good for you because I think you're a good person to begin with. And I think you'll use this to build your character and to build resiliency. He said, it's really, you walk out of class and the problems with business don't seem that big of a problem than someone trying to pop your head off. And so it's been super helpful for me, and it seems like it has been for you.
Well, that's an interesting thing too, is like I think you hit it on the dot, where people that in jiu-jitsu, they realize that they can't focus on anything else other than what's in front of them, and they tend to forget about that the moment they leave the gym. They only do that in jiu-jitsu, but then in reality, it's like, I'm not a father yet, I hope to be, but as a father, you can't, like, if you're in a situation with your kid, nothing else can matter other than what you're offering your kid. In a business, I come into my shop and my studio, and I make sure that everything that's outside stays outside. My guys need 100% of me, 110%, just like my wife. My wife deserves 110% of me. Everything we do, just like, you're rolling, if you don't give 110% of your effort, not go balls to the wall all the time, but if you're not giving 110% of your effort, just walk out. You're wasting not only your time, but your opponent's time who's trying to get better.
There's a guy I love on the internet. His name's Ed Milet. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's a self-help. He's a successful man. He's got a podcast. Yeah. I remember listening one day. He's like, work-life balance is a lie. You need to be 100% in whatever you're doing. So when you're with your kids, don't have balance. Be 100% a dad. When you're with your wife, when you're out with your wife, don't bring work into it. Be 100% with your wife. And man, that was so valuable to me as still a young man, now a father and husband and business owner. And that is what I really enjoy about training jiu-jitsu, as somebody whose mind's always constantly nonstop going. Yeah. I know there's a lot of us out there. Yeah. I cannot be thinking about my client's issue while I'm getting choked. If I am, I'm getting tapped really fast.
Absolutely.
So for me, it's not just fun, but it's so like therapeutic for me. That's why I actually enjoy, not everybody can, I train during the day a lot, like at lunch. And it's because I work really hard in the morning, go to class, focus on that, and then I kind of come out and end my day with a clear mind. But I wanted to ask you about work. So now you've been doing this for a little while here at the shop. What has been maybe the most rewarding part of being a business owner and having the shop?
I kind of have a non-popular opinion. I don't think there is one rewarding factor, because my goal isn't, again, success is a good product of effort, but I love the effort. That's my reward, seeing myself grow. I'm never not working. I think as a business, when people start their business, they think that their goal is to never work again in a day in their life. When I left a 12-hour, work week or work day into a 24-hour work day. I'm constantly, beforehand I'm drawing, during the tattoo I'm focusing on my tattoo, and then afterwards I'm going back home to draw, work on marketing, all that stuff. I would say the most rewarding thing is just having people who are surrounded with me who are also happy. You know what I mean? Seeing them go, because that, again, I'm not the only one that dealt with constant pressure. I have an artist who I look up to her, who's balancing, being a single mom with 2 kids, who came from not the best, environment, and she doesn't complain a day in her life. Like, what I do is nothing compared to a parent. And I know that, not being a parent, my life is cake compared to her, but she continuously pushes and lives by that motto of, like, if she can control what she can control, and what she can't control, she chooses not to worry about, and she comes in knowing that she has 2 kids she needs to focus on, and while she's here, she's focusing on work. So I think that's my reward, is meeting the people that I know who have chosen to be part of my life that can balance it and just be as happy. Not saying it's easy, because it's not easy. I'm not here for it to be easy. I'm here for it to know that each day I'm improving more than the other. So I guess that's the rewarding one.
Love it.
Rewarding part.
So as somebody who's been training jiu-jitsu for quite a few years now, what has been maybe one of the most challenging or difficult parts of your training journey?
I never really thought of it that way.
I did see a meme this week. It was like, there's only 2 ways you drive home from jiu-jitsu class.
Oh, yeah.
And one was like a dude smiling, and then another dude just, there's like no middle ground.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
I would say for me, the thing I enjoy the most, or like got the most reward from when it came to jiu-jitsu, is again the connection. I'm very much a connection guy and a community guy, where it's like I've seen the negative side of the jiu-jitsu community, and then knowing that there's more of the opposite, the positive, the happy, that's why I do it. You know, I know I lived a life where I had a job that I hated. I had a job that didn't give me the most reward. I mean, for Christ's sake, talking about balancing work life and home life, I learned it the hard way. I had one time where, you know, and that's, I think that's again the harsh realities of life are what taught me the most, where I had to balance, you know, losing someone, having someone literally die in front of me, and then go home and kiss my wife and pet my dog and be all happy. And that's where it sounds morbid, but like, to me, it's knowing that there's a community of people that love what they do and get to do it. And then they don't complain about the external forces. Like seeing someone who can balance a fatherhood, work week, training, that to me means a lot. Like that to me is success. Obviously there's money to it. Obviously I want to have financial success, but the success is having everything and being balanced. Not perfect, because there's no perfect anything, but being a dad when you need to be a dad, being a mom when you need to be a mom, being a grappler when you need to be a grappler, but also being a good leader. So to me, that's the part I love about the community, is in being introduced to these leaders that have become mentors to me. And I can see as an example to transfer over into tattooing, because there's a lot of lack in this industry where there's not enough leadership. It's all about, and it happens in jiu-jitsu. Jiu-jitsu, you get guys that are just like, I want to be the cool guy. I want to have the most money. I want to have the most wins. I want to have the most... Dude, I bet you Gordon Ryan's probably the weirdest dude in person. I haven't met him in person. I know guys that have, but it's like people want to be him because they see success. Yeah. But it's just a one side of success. They don't see the Gordon Ryan that suffers in the gym. They don't see the Gordon Ryan... They probably glamorize it, but they don't do it. And so I want that life so bad. And it's like, no, to me, I like the gym owners that can balance it all, the gym owners that found Gordon Ryan, the gym owners that can do everything, and then just they don't care about whether or not they're in the light, they don't care about whether or not they're the ones being seen, they just want everyone else to be happy around them. And that to me is that's where I want to end up in.
Yeah, I want to see that for the jiu-jitsu community. Yeah. I've said as I've traveled, and I am nobody in the sport, but I am somebody who's trying to be very intentional with leading my life to be the best person I can be. And I see often people that they're black belts at choking people, but I want to see people become a black belt in life. And it doesn't happen overnight. It takes pressure. It takes constant intentionality. The same, if we could see practitioners take the same focus and determination to be great at an art, if they could take that into their life, the possibilities are endless.
Well, I think the best thing where it transfers over well is you learn from failure in jiu-jitsu. People think you learn from winning. I disagree with that, where it's like someone can show you how to do a triangle. You won't know how to apply it properly until you're in that triangle, because then you realize how it feels, what works and what doesn't. Then you apply it. It's just like earlier, I walked in my apprentice on like, I tried telling her, I could have told her, hey, you pull the line this way, you do that way, until I'm like, no, here, let me put the gloves on. This is what you need to do. This is the pressure you need to apply, so on and so forth. People learn more by example than they do anything else. Whether it's audio, visual, or kinetic, like they need to feel that. They need to understand what failure is. They need to understand what it's like to be put under pressure. You're not going to know how to get out of side control until you're put in under side control. And not just by anyone. You need the heaviest guy in the room, put you in a side control, and then that's how you're going to effectively apply it everywhere else.
Can we just talk about side control real quick? Like, that is, right now, I'm allowing myself to be put in that all the time.
That's a good excuse. That's a good way of saying
because I'm allowing it to try to figure out how to get out of it. And two things: listening to what my instructor's teaching me. What are my teammates helping me with? And then maybe everything that if I see a couple things on the internet, like, can I try these things? But I suck at getting out of that.
Hell yeah. Like, well, that's the thing too, is you suck right now. You know what I mean? It's like, that's the thing that's jiu-jitsu is becoming popular. It's growing immensely. And a lot of people are seeing these, they're not seeing what I saw early on, where it's like, hey, it takes 10 years. They're seeing the Rotula brothers. Oh my God, they're 18 already with the black. They're seeing Gordon Ryan, 4 years and he's already a champion, right? They're not getting told that's the anomaly. It could happen, but you're not ready for the amount of work that needs to be put in. So it's like, people get in these positions like, you suck at side control right now. You're gonna get good at it and then suck at back control. You're gonna get
Exactly.
get good at that. And you're gonna suck because you're never not growing. The best people, Ricardo Laborio, doing jiu-jitsu for, if I'm not mistaken, 40 plus years. You can sit him down right now and he's gonna tell you, "Oh, I suck at this position. I'm not good here." Tarsus Paula, he's a phenomenal black belt who I've seen people demolish him. That guy is such an example of what you should be, where he is never not learning. To me, he knows everything, but to him, there's so much he doesn't know, and that's where it's like I've heard the quote I've heard that sits well with me is, "The moment you get your black belt in jiu-jitsu is when you get your white belt again, because now you just learned it all over again from a different perspective." You're gonna suck at something constantly, and that's with life. Like, you're gonna do good in business on one thing, you're gonna fail. Like, you're gonna fail. If you avoid failure, you're never gonna be good. Just stop trying. That's how you avoid failure. You know, it's like, you don't want to fail at side control, don't get in it. You don't want to fail at jiu-jitsu, don't try it. You know, you don't want to fail at a business, don't do it. You know, get your comfortable 9-to-5 job. Get that position where everyone tells you, "Hey, you're doing good. Hey, you're great. You're proud." If you're worried about the validation of others, you're never going to do good and you're never going to be happy. Like that. And this is where, like, I'm very big on that. Like, no one's opinion matters more than your own. No one's positional advantage matters than your own positional advantage in life. So it's like, don't worry about sucking. Just worry about improving. The journey is what matters, not the end goal, you know? So it's a long-winded explanation as to, don't worry about sucking at side control. Just keep getting into side control, keep worrying, keep getting out of it, and then just grow from there.
Share with us kind of the future of what you see your business, and also you as a husband now, and kind of like as a jiu-jitsu practitioner. What's the future look like for Hector in the next couple years?
You know, I'm not too sure what the future looks like other than successful. I'm being optimistic, but I know if my work ethic maintains the way it is, and I continue to what I strive to be and do, nothing's going to change for me other than good. And that's not saying I'm going to deal with, you know, struggles and hassles and ups and downs, but I ensure that my work ethic is going to end up continuing to beat the people around me. I'm going to hopefully create a community where people want each other to grow and less competitive. And I just want to be a good husband, man. Yeah. You know, there's something that I owe my life to my wife, because she got me here. I
remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, dude.
That's why you're on here.
Yeah.
That's why you're on here, because I'm being intentional about aligning with people who are trying to be excellent in not just one area, but in all areas.
For sure.
And you're far from perfect, just like I am.
Yeah.
But I love where your vision is and where you want to get.
Yeah.
And I cut you off, but like, if you want to shout out to your wife or anything, like, if you want to keep talking about that or whatever.
No, we're good.
She saved me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's the thing that's so funny, man, is like, I'm only 26, so I'm young, I'm ignorant, I have so much more to learn, but I've gotten this far, you know, so I can only imagine where I'm going to be in 10 years, but I also know I'm playing the long game. I don't want success tomorrow. Okay. I know I can't get success tomorrow, but I know what I can strive for is a good community. I want to be a good father, but I also want to be a good leader, and I think that's diversified everywhere. You know, I could be a good leader here, I could be a good leader at home, I could be a good leader on the mats, and I think that's the one thing I strive is I've met some incredible leaders that I can aspire to be, and I know that I can do the same thing. And that's just all it takes. Is it sounds corny and not overdrawn, but like, I've gotten to where I'm at in 3 years in positions that take people 6 and 7. It's because they limit themselves, because they think that, oh, so-and-so said I should wait. And it's like, let them. Like, so-and-so isn't going to pay my bills. So-and-so isn't going to live my marriage. So-and-so isn't going to raise my kids. So-and-so doesn't have any much grip on me, because it just doesn't matter. You know, I have mentors that I care for and their opinion matter to me. But at the same time, only when they want the best for me. You know what I mean?
I wanted to ask you, what type of advice do you have for other business owners who may be considering training jiu-jitsu, and maybe why should they do it?
I'm going to start off by saying why they shouldn't do it.
Okay.
You know, like, if you don't want to struggle, if you don't want to suffer, if you don't want to not be good at something for a very long time, no, don't do it. Don't waste your time, and don't waste the others around you's time.
Yeah.
If you don't want to benefit and grow and be a part of a community that isn't perfect, it isn't going to make you invincible. You're not going to be an MMA fighter. You will lose more than you win, but you will gain something in the long run that no one else has. It's a different feeling being able to walk around people and understand that who's in charge, knowing that. And that's what's helped me, man. Like, the guys that I've suffered with on the mat for years, that have very basically almost broken my arm. I've torn ligaments. I've dislocated my knees, and I've I've struggled with these guys that I consider them much part of my family, that if you want to feel invincible, do jiu-jitsu, because there's no one in this industry that can tell me what to do, that can even step foot to my face and tell me, hey, you need to be doing this way. It's like, no, show me. Like, until you've earned respect, I don't care. I don't need your respect. I don't need it, because I have the respect I need with the guys that I struggle with every day, and women. And so don't waste my time. Don't waste your own time. If you want to grow, do it. You're not going to gain much out of the first couple months, but you'll learn more about yourself than you've ever will. No college course has it. No business course. No mentorship program can teach you what jiu-jitsu teaches you.
I love it, man. Dude, that's so good. Thank you so much for being on. I want to give people a chance to let us know where we can find you. So share your personal and your shop.
Hell yeah. So on Instagram, Roman_jiu-jitsu_. The shop is Constant Pressure Tattoo on Instagram. Follow us for events. If you're local to Brevard County, we have events monthly, and also first responders, military, nurses, anyone that serves our community, we'd like to serve you and give you discounts and special rates at our shop. So thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. With all the podcasts and videos you could be watching on the internet or listening to today, the fact that you took time to listen to this one, man, we just really greatly appreciate it. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.
And if you're listening to anything else, you suck. You should quit.
Okay, we'll keep that in there.
Hell yeah.